The biggest mistake I made in my business was not hiring a professional to help me with my money. Not just my taxes, but the actual plan I had for my business. I was completely lost on how to handle taxes, what to do with profit, and how to maintain my income. I had to find a better way. That's when I found Core Financial. Core Financial is a team of tax professionals that actually care about building real relationships with their clients. They run my books, keep me up to date with my finances, and make sure I'm taking full advantage of all of my tax benefits. Are you struggling with your finances? Look no further. Core Financial is a brand that is nationwide that can help you with your business. Both Nick and I are huge fans of Core, and they can help you too. Check out howtofilmweddings.com/core to schedule a consultation today. Core Financial, real relationships, no surprises. Hello and welcome to How to Film Weddings. It's a brand new week. It's a good week already. I'm joined by my best good buddy for a fresh new episode of the How to Film Weddings podcast. Nick Miller is with us today. Oh my goodness. We are lucky enough to have him with us. Nick, everybody, if you're in your car, if you're running, just start clapping for Nick as we welcome him to the How to Film Weddings podcast. Nick Miller. Yes, you always take a drink right when it's time for you to talk, so I'll stall. How are you? What's new? Say hello to our How to Film Weddings friends.
I would really appreciate if Blake would do some thunderous applause right here. Who knows if he will, but that would be great. You know, just lots of applause just for me, not for John. I am doing well. Shot a wedding this weekend in Kansas City. I'm back home now. Things are going well for me. We are getting our house painted, so that is neat. We have a guy that we hired who is painting our house. It's looking much better. Since we moved in 3 years ago, like the day we moved in, Jen was like, we got to paint our house. Like we got to paint our house. And so now we are, finally, we are doing that. So that's what's going on in my world. You know, everything's fine. I don't have to worry about any snakes or anything like that, which I know that some people in this conversation are having to worry about currently. Snakes.
Guys, I moved into a new house that's kind of out of town. It's great. It's perfect, except for one little caveat. Apparently, there's a lot of snakes around here. And in the last 24 hours, we've seen two really big ones. Apparently, they're fine. They're not going to hurt us, but they're still scary. And snakes are scary. And if you don't think so, come to my house and help me wrangle and get rid of some of these things. Apparently, they're going to move on. But like, it's still just, my wife is like, I don't know if I want to live here anymore. And I'm like, I don't want to either. Let's burn this place down. So we've been dealing with that. Bunch of snakes. It's just, we don't like it. We've seen 10 snakes total now since we've lived here. We've cleaned out a lot of stuff. There was a bunch of like trees that we got taken out. We have 3 acres or so we got a lot of land. But anyway, yikes. And I also had a wedding this weekend here in Tulsa. Felt good to be home. And honestly, it was really cool. After last week's episode, we started talking about our mental health and just to reach out to someone if you're feeling overwhelmed. Don't do this thing called life alone. Reach out to a professional if you need to. And we got so many messages, so many comments, especially on our YouTube video, just people saying this was needed. This is very, timely. Thank you so much. People sending me messages telling me, hey, I'm going through a divorce. This really hit home for me. Or the last year's kind of been really difficult for a lot of people. And
been rough. Yeah.
As we are kind of coming out of this whole COVID, situation, not saying it's over or anything like that. We really just wanted to continue on the conversation of basically our mindset, kind of on the same level, talking about our mental health, but like we're talking this week more about our mindset when it comes to not only our money, but our business and what we need to change within our mindset to get to where we're wanting to go. If you're out there listening and you're saying, I want to charge more money for my wedding films, or I want to shoot less, or I want to pay to, take my family on a vacation, or whatever it is, you have to be the one, especially as a small business owner, to say, this is my goal, this is where I'm going, and then reverse engineer it and work yourself back from there. And so that's kind of what we're going to talk about today. Nick, what do you have to add?
Well, I find it very interesting, as you know, we're going to kind of talk about some money and some mindset and that sort of thing. And every now and then, you know, when we're in, you know, Facebook groups, whether it's ours, howtofilmweddings.com/community, if you want to join it, howtofilmweddings.com/community, whether it's our Facebook group or it's some other Facebook groups where there are people talking about charging this, or, you know, hey, I charge $1,000 for a ceremony edit or a doc edit or whatever. And every now and then you'll get people like, why are you charging for that? Like, that should just be included. You know, why are you asking for all of this money? Like, that's not right. You shouldn't be able to do that. And so it just kind of has to do with some money mindset, where you are at with it. And there's lots of things that can really attribute to this, right, John? Whether you grew up with money or you didn't grow up with money, like that is going to be a big factor in the money that you make in your business. Politically, what you believe is going to be a factor in the money that you make in your business. Or religiously, what you believe. I mean, all of these things can affect, whether positively or negatively, your money mindset when it comes to your business. And so it's one of those things that when it comes to money in your business, you really need to train your mind and decide what it is that you think and what it is, and then, you know, follow through with that with action. Whether that's I'm gonna be a $5,000 videographer, so I start charging $5,000 and you know, kind of going from there. And we'll get into that stuff here in a little bit, but you know, following the things that you're thinking with some action. John, what do you want to add about this right here?
I think that for me, I never really thought about my mindset towards money itself. A lot of people think money is bad, or making money is bad, or you're bad if you charge a lot of money for a service. I am a guy that over time has really learned that it is a huge win whenever you can charge a premium, but also offer a premium product that makes people really, really happy. And I posted a video on my personal Facebook page today from a wedding 2 years ago, and I just kind of shared it was in my recent, or my, like, whatever Time Hop is version for Facebook, saying share these memories. But 2 years ago I did this wedding film, and 3 days ago the bride sent me a video of her baby, and she was like, "Thanks, John, for filming my mom and dad's wedding." And like she had just showed her little 1-year-old for the first time their wedding film, and like it was their anniversary, and she stayed in touch with me. And like, I'm very convinced that wedding filmmaking is still the most undervalued portion of a wedding day. I think it should be the most expensive part of a wedding day, outside of maybe the venue if you have or food if you're feeding a huge amount of people. But I think our mindset towards just wedding filmmaking in general, if it doesn't change, then we're not going to feel comfortable charging more. Like, the value that I know that I brought to that couple that now has these memories 2 years later, or 3 years, or 10 years later, and of the hundreds of messages that I've gotten over the last 15 years of doing this, of, you do not know how much this video means to me. And we have to do a better job as wedding filmmakers of showing that value and helping people with their mindset towards wedding filmmaking. But a lot of people would say, my mindset is that I can only charge this. I grew up this way, I think this way, so I'm kind of limited. And so I would challenge you, if you're listening, what is your mindset towards money? Like, do you think it's bad? Do you think it's bad to have it? Are you bad at managing it? And, you know, how does that filter into your business? Because before getting into some of these things that we will recommend for you to change so you can charge more, if your mindset towards the money itself is wrong, then it's going to be really hard for you to find success.
Yeah. And then another question you need to ask yourself along those lines is, are you even motivated by money? Because there are some people that are 100% not motivated by money. You know, they were like, I really love what I do and I just want to do it. So I don't care if I make $500 or if I make $10,000 on a thing. Like, I'm just going to go out there and do it. And that's just another thing that you need to come to grips with and know and understand about yourself. And then you need, if that's kind of how you are, you need to ask the question, am I hurting the industry around me because I don't care about money and I'm not charging very much. Like just something to be mindful about when it comes to this.
Whenever like thinking about being motivated by money or not, I'm motivated by money. I like making money, but I'm more motivated by time freedom and being able to set my own schedule and do what I want to do with the time that I have. Like, I know time is something I can't get back. And so that is my core value, is time freedom. And for that, I need to make the most amount of money so I can have more time. And so a lot of us just kind of get into this rut where our family didn't have money growing up. We went to school on student loans. We have a lot of debt. We got a car payment. We got a house payment. We got credit card payments. We got these payments, and we're just out of money. And all we do is the cycle of, I got to work to make money to get back to zero. I have to make all this money so I can get it all to the people that I'm making payments towards, or whatever it is. And your mindset is more just, I have to get money to survive. And I think a lot of wedding filmmakers, creatives, are so bad at running their business, they're not thinking about their money, that they aren't allowed to be the creative person they really want to be. And if you don't get these things in order, you're not going to be able to be as creative as you want to be. And at least having like a spouse that's good with these things, or something, so you can, I think of some of the most creative people in our industry, and it's like, they get to be really creative because somebody is thinking about the money in the business, because we all need to eat, and we're all consuming all the time. So you have to be able to make money to make this sustainable. And what I've found over the years of raising my prices, there's a much larger fulfillment in the lesser amount of weddings that I'm doing for more money. And that might not be you, but I'm shooting 14 or so weddings this year. I'm able to really pour into all of my couples, and the amount of money that I'm making from those 14 are more than I made the year that I had 52 weddings. And so it's a complete time freedom thing. Whenever I met Nick, I was, I think, 39 weddings the first year that I had known you. And it's like, that's a lot of time that's gone. I can't. And so now having more time, that's really helped me. So you have to ask yourself, are you motivated by money?
Yeah. Changing your mindset towards your work or what you charge is a huge hurdle for a lot of filmmakers. I know that one thing John and I have talked about is, getting over that hurdle of what you would pay for it versus what someone else would pay for it. Right. And, I don't know if I would be able to pay $5,000 for a wedding videographer. I don't know that. And so I think a lot of us were like, well, I wouldn't pay $2,500. I wouldn't pay $3,000. I wouldn't pay $30,000. So I cannot charge more than that because I wouldn't pay that. Okay. I think that is a huge hurdle that you need to get over, or that we need to just come to grips with and figure out. Another thing, Jen and I talk about this all the time, how the wedding industry is bananas. And there are stuff that just costs a lot of money. And, she's like, I don't know, are we kind of just adding to all the noise of all this expense and all this stuff, with it? But then I keep coming back to, I'm like, okay, Jen, if they're going to pay us $8,000 for a wedding film, they're going to pay someone else about that much. And so wouldn't it be better if we made that $8,000 on a wedding than had them give it to somebody else? Then we can use it, that sort of thing. So that's a mind shift thing that we have kind of come to terms with, is like, these people that have this money are going to spend it on this. So we might as well benefit from it than have it go to somebody else, because if we're cheaper, they're not going to pay us.
And going back to like your mindset on the value that you bring to a wedding day, I think a lot of us need a refresher and reminder how important what we do is. I had my episode after my dad passed away, talking just about the importance of what we do, and being able to go back and watch my brother's wedding film with my dad's voice on it, or just the nature of what we're doing is so valuable. And over the last 10 years or so, the quality of wedding films has gone up so much. If you joined the wedding world 2008 or before, it wasn't even HD really. Like, you couldn't record good audio. It was hit or miss. It was very different than it is today. And with the advances in technology and everything that we've been able to do, the drones, we're able to capture cinematic, Hollywood feature film type videos. And it might not be as good as someone else that you look up to in the wedding industry, but there are tens of thousands of weddings in your major city near you every year. There's not enough wedding filmmakers to capture it correctly. And the value that you add, if you're really serving your couples, is worth far more than what you're charging. And so you have to start with that part of your mindset, is like, yes, I'm undercharging for what the value, like I know that this is worth so much. And if you know that in your core, you sell differently, and you talk about what you do differently, and you value what you're doing first, and then people start to follow. And I started to realize that as I was writing out some of the content for this episode. The reason I've never really had a hard time selling wedding films is because I 100% am sold on the fact that it is the most important thing that a couple can do besides actually getting married on a wedding day, because I just get the nostalgia. I get that the families are coming together. I get this moment where two lives have spent their entire lives ready for this moment to collide, and this is the only time that this family and that family are going to be together at the same time ever again. And we're tasked with capturing this in such a way. And that value that you have, if you don't see that value, you can never charge what you're actually worth.
So I'm going to go a little off script, off book. I hope that's okay. I had a thought. I had a thought here. Okay. Let's say I have the mindset, right, that I am worth this amount, and I have convinced myself, because I am good at what I do, that I am a $5,000 wedding videographer. Okay. But what if no one will hire me at that price? Like, no one will hire me at that price. Okay. Is this where maybe a money mindset or something like that can like be negative? Like I just kind of had this thought as we're talking about charging more and raising our price. But what if you're like, I'm a $5,000 videographer? Well, you're only worth what someone will pay you. And so if people are only willing to pay you $3,000, what is that? I guess that's just another hurdle that you need to come to grips with and figure out. Like, you're trying to build yourself up, and then now you have gotten to this spot, and if no one's hiring you, then you just need to like go back down, right?
Yeah. I mean, we have it kind of written out for a little later in the episode to go.
Oh, sorry.
But
sorry.
It's okay. Like, I'm great. I like this conversation because I think a lot of people have, like, their mindset is, well, nobody's charging that here. And that might be the case. And so what I think about is, if whatever situation I'm in, I'm thinking through, like, okay, well, my city will not allow a $5,000. It's just not going to happen. And so there's two things here. You can accept that and be okay with that. And if your city doesn't have like that ability, most likely the cost of living is way, way less expensive for that area. So I know that might be the case. Excuse me. But what I did, I mean, in Oklahoma, the top is going to be somewhere 7,000, 8,000 for the most, usually, like somewhere in there, like for like the high end couples, like they're not going to pay too much more than that. So I might have to get outside of Oklahoma if I want to charge 10,000, which I want to do. And there might be a couple in Oklahoma, but like there's not as many in Oklahoma that are willing to pay 10,000 that are not, like in New York City. That would be a way easier, but it costs way more to be in New York City. And so you have to set a realistic expectation, but your price should make you uncomfortable. Where you're aiming should be like, let me see if this works, and slowly, incrementally change that until you get to that spot. But 5,000 might not be the magic number. I mean, that's a random number we've come up with. But the point is, if you've spent if you're doing everything on your end and nobody's still buying it, that means that market isn't willing to pay that. And you can do a lot of things to help that market understand and pay more, or you can find a market that is willing to do that. Those are my thoughts. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, Jen and I are kind of in that situation. I mean, a little bit. We have 15 weddings on the books this year, and we're only shooting one in our local market, I mean, because, and I think a lot of it has to do with, our price point. And we're okay with that because, we're okay with going, some other places. And if that means that, if we're able to shoot 10 to 12 weddings a year, but none of them are home, like we're okay with that trade-off so that we can charge what we want to charge and then, go other places. So, yeah.
And on the other side of that, if after a year or two of charging $5,000 for you and Jen, and you're like, man, traveling, I don't want to do that. That doesn't make me fulfilled anymore. Well, maybe $4,000 in Wichita for 17 weddings, you're going to make around the same amount, but there's 4 more weddings at home. You can upsell after you've, sold those things. There's a lot of ways to make more as you build a relationship, as we've talked about a lot. I just think that most people, their mindset, when we're talking about mindset, they just are like, yeah, that's not feasible or possible, so I'm stopping. And I would challenge that.
Yeah, or one thing that I heard a lot is, this is back a few years, but like, oh, my couples want DVDs, or my couples want this, or my couples won't pay that, or we use this phrase, my couples won't do this. But then you're like, well, you're just assuming that because they're basing their purchases on what you are offering. So it's like you don't know if your couples actually want DVDs 5 years ago. You are assuming that they do because you offer them and you're assuming that they want them. Or you're saying, oh, my couples won't pay me $4,000. I'm stuck at $2,500. Well, but you've been charging $2,500 for everything plus the kitchen sink for so long. Like there's just all these layers and stuff that can kind of go into it. And so, yeah, I what you just said resonated with me.
It's an interesting thing to kind of unpack because I think a lot of us don't ever take the time to just go there mentally and say,
yeah,
like, I want to be charging this. It's just more like, I'll just take whatever I can get. And I think that mindset shift, like that's more playing defense, right? Like this is, I'm going to take whatever I can get. I'm like, my market says $2,000, and I would say play more offense where it's like, I want to charge this much. I want to do these kinds of things. This is where I see fulfillment and happiness. And spoiler alert, that doesn't just happen overnight. And we're going to talk about that in a little bit, but you just can't expect to be charging more without turning the Titanic, without turning that big ship,
right,
without thinking and stuff like that. And so we have a lot more to talk about when it comes to our mindsets, imposter syndrome, a lot of things. And we're going to do that right after this break.
What would you take on if you had an extra set of hands? What would you do with your free time if you didn't have to edit? So many of us get bogged down in the post-production hustle that we never seem time to focus on our business. John and I both felt that way until we found Wedditor. Wedditor is a post-production team of top wedding film editors and project managers that give your films and brand the extra eyes, ears, and hands that they need. Not only is Wedditor delivering films we love to our couples faster, but we can invest ourselves fully in other areas of our business knowing that Wedditor has our back. Be the first to know how your second shooters are doing, how those new LUTs work with your footage, and relax knowing your couples are getting the full attention they deserve on every single project. So what could you do with an extra hand? Head over to howtofilmweddings.com/Wedditor, whether you're ready to start now or preparing for next season. Be sure to use promo code HTFW for $50 off your first project. If you're interested in this service, make sure you head over to howtofilmweddings.com/Wedditor soon. Fall 2020 spots are lined up and filling up fast. Wedditor, more than freelance, more than outsourcing.
Finding the perfect song for your wedding film can be so frustrating. We spend countless hours searching for the perfect song. When it comes to licensing music, Nick and I both love MusicBed. Not only do they have the best music, but their website makes it so easy to find the perfect song and to find it fast. We have both been using the MusicBed's wedding subscription for years and cannot recommend it enough. Not only are they adding new music from incredible musicians like Chapters, The Light, The Heat, and Tony Anderson all the time, they've made it incredibly easy to search their library for mood, genre, instrumentation, and even key. So what are you waiting for? Head on over to howtofilmweddings.com/musicbed and use promo code HTFW for a free month of a music bed wedding subscription. howtofilmweddings.com/musicbed. All right, we are back from break, and we're starting this segment with the Wedditor question of the day. Wedditor, more than freelance, more than outsourcing. Nick, we're on this subject of mindset when it comes to our business, our money. And my question to you is, what do we do to deal with imposter syndrome?
Man, so again, this is just a mind shift thing. Okay. I was having a conversation with someone earlier, and they texted me, and she's raised her prices, a couple $1,000s over the last year because she was just getting so booked up and all that stuff. And she texted me her trailer, and she was like, "Hey, what do you think of this? Is this a $4,000 trailer? Or, $4,000 video?" She's like, I was kind of doing the same thing, for $2,000. And I was like, well, okay. I think that's a question that we ask ourselves, especially whenever we start bumping up our prices, because, one day you're charging $2,500 for a wedding, and then the next day you throw, "Oh, I want to do $3,000," and someone hires you. And then the next day you're like $4,000 and someone hires you. So, you're going up quick. And so the thing that I want you people out there to hear, if you're really struggling with imposter syndrome, one, if you have to ask yourself, is this a fill in the number video? Well, did someone pay you that number for that video? If so, then the answer is yes. Okay. If they paid you $4,000 for a wedding video for your services, that is a $4,000 wedding video. Okay. That's the first thing that you need to know and you need to understand. Another thing that a lot of people struggle with, when I'm talking about, so-and-so is so booked out, and, they're $2,000 for their services, but they have 40 weddings on the book, and they're like, "Oh, I just can't raise my prices," imposter syndrome or whatever. I had this conversation with a planner friend, just kind of messaging her back and forth. She was like, "Oh," I was like, "You need to raise your prices," because she's had all these weddings booked. And I was like, "You need to raise your prices." She's like, "Oh, it's imposter syndrome." It's like, I just don't feel worthy of that. And I'm like, people are telling you with their money right now, and you are fully booked up for the rest of 21 and most of 22 already. People are telling you that you are worth it. Okay. And so if you are really booked up a lot, okay, you're a professional and you are doing a lot of stuff and you are doing a lot of work. And so I think that's another mind shift thing that you just need to get over. People are hiring you. They are trusting you to do a job. And so you're not an imposter. You are the real deal doing this. Now you can always grow and improve and get better and all that sort of stuff as you're going along, but you're not an imposter. You are running a business and you are filming weddings and you are getting better and you are charging more. Like, that's how business works. So if someone pays you money, it's worth it. And if you're like, you are worth that, is what I'm saying. And if you're like, I can't raise my prices because imposter syndrome, but if you're all booked up, guess what? It's not that's just a you personal mental thing that you need to get over to continue to run your business.
Yeah,
what do you have to add?
The market is telling you whether or not in that situation, but there's this balance of creating this urgency and this scarcity with your brand that you can do alongside as you're growing to help ease that. Like, you should feel like an imposter if you're charging way too much and you're not providing much and you're being shady or something like that. So if you're sitting there and you're booked up for the year, or if you got a lot of bookings and you're just afraid to raise your prices because your mindset is not there, a lot of our mentor sessions will be looking and we'll be like, you need to raise your prices. We need to, and that might not be the case for everyone. If you've got no weddings booked and you're not, your prices are not super high in the market, either something is wrong with your messaging, your branding, your contact form, just the quality of your films. And so we're not people that sit here and say, oh yeah, you just raise your prices, just say you're $4,000 or $5,000 and people will start paying it. It has to match with what you're providing, the testimonials that other people give you, the experience that people have with you, the referrals. And then once you get into this really cool spot where you're booking, you're booking up, you're filling up your schedule, you can incrementally raise those prices. For me. And so that's kind of where I wanted to go next, really, is like people think that they will start to get paid more even if they don't change anything about their business, even if they don't make their films better. And it kind of blows my mind. It's like, I've been in business 10 years, so I should be charging more. And it's like, I know people that have been in business for 2 years that are charging more than me because they are just better. They have done a better job. And the market doesn't care necessarily how long you've been doing something, or they care about what they're going to get, what they're seeing, what their experience is, the referrals, and that's what matters a lot. And so people think that they will get paid more even if they don't change anything. So if you're in a struggling place where you're like, I can't book more, I can't raise more prices, some things have to change. And the reality is that you don't start making more until you change your mindset first. And this is something that I had to do in my business. People are like, John, you charge, like, I mentioned something about charging 10 grand for wedding films. Someone was like, man, I can't wait to get there. I've been doing this 3 years. And it's like, well, for me, I didn't make over $5,000 for a wedding film, I think, until my 7th or 8th year of doing this. And people will be like, wow. And it wasn't because I hit 7 or 8 years. It was because I realized my mindset needed to shift. I needed to stop looking at myself as a last resort thing that's a luxury that some people throw a bone every now and then for $1,500 and add a video. And I had to start changing that perception with everything about what I did with my branding. And so what happened is I had money and financial growth after I changed my mindset. Most people think, when I get rich, I'll do these things. And it's the opposite. It's when I do these things, I will start to get rich. Or when I do these things, I will start to charge more. And they're like, well, I'll charge more once I get better weddings, or I'll charge more. And I'll tell you this, now that I've changed the mindset, and we'll unpack a little bit more on what I did, but like now, when I do a wedding, 99 out of 100 of them, it's really easy to film because they've spent a ton of money on the wedding. And it took me 6 or 7 years of consistently branding myself in that way to where if I'm doing a wedding, they're spending a lot of money on it. That wasn't always the case. And people are like, well, yeah, it's easy for you to make it look good because look at your subjects, look at your reception venue, look at this. And
Sure.
And again, their mindset hasn't changed yet. And they start to point fingers and say, well, I would do that if I got to shoot those big weddings. And it's like, change your mindset first. You've got it out of order. You have to change your mindset before you can start doing some of these bigger weddings. Nick, anything to add?
I don't think so on that. I mean, you are 100% correct. Is that what is it? Results follow action. Like, that whole thing, a marriage counselor that I heard a long time ago that said, hey, if you're having marital trouble, and you feel like you don't love your spouse anymore, but you want to work it out, act like you love them so much. Like, just act like it. And most of the time, real feelings, real results follow that action, follow that faking it or whatever. And so if you just kind of start, okay, this is where I'm going to go. This is where I want to be. This is how much I want to make. This is what I want to do, even though maybe it makes you uncomfortable. Maybe it doesn't feel right in the moment because you haven't trained yourself to think that way and feel that way. You start doing these things first, and then a lot of times you will see the rewards later. Kind of getting that going. So yeah.
I look at it like a lot of people are just like, well, I would have abs if I had his genetics, and it's like, I've said that before. It's like, well, of course he's got abs. Like, look at his genetics. And it's like, well, hold on a sec. They discount that person, what work they've put into it. They might not they might have started further along. They may have better genetics, but it's like, I don't sit here and look at other people and point at them and be like, well, they have it good because of this. My mindset isn't of jealousy or anything like that. And what we want for you is to be able to really look at your company, look at your life, your money mindset, your mindset you have towards what motivates you, and get out of your own way. And so I think back to my 6th or 7th year of doing weddings and really doing a self-evaluation of where I wanted to go. And I started to really listen to some people talking about wealth, not creepy wealth, get rich quick guys, but some people I really trusted, some pastors, about what to do to grow, to start making more so I could provide a different life for my family or provide. And I started to realize that if I wanted to make more, I had to start doing things differently. And if you want to, like for an example, if you want to charge $5,000, what does that look like for you in your market or not in your market? And you have to ask yourself first, where do you want to be financially with your business, with your life? And that all plays a role in it. But I wanted to be charging $5,000. That was like my first milestone. It's like, if I can get 20, that's 6 figures. I just need 20 people in Oklahoma, Texas, somewhere in there, Kansas City, somewhere like in this area. I just need 20 people in a year to say yes to $5,000. But people didn't just start calling me and saying, "Hey, instead of your $3,000 price point, can I pay you $5,000?" What happened was I took advantage of some of the situations that I had with weddings that had booked for way less. And so I knew that there was a bigger wedding coming up at the country club I talk about a lot. And I had it booked. I don't know why they booked me. And it was like a lucky thing, but I had been slowly building to towards this, and they booked me, and I realized they're going to be spending a lot of money on their wedding. I went and bought new clothes. I started really thinking about it. I brought in an extra shooter. I did everything I could to capture this wedding, knowing that this wedding was something that could catapult me into further weddings. It has been the single best wedding for my business. I took advantage of it, but I changed my mindset first. Leading up to it, I had to get things ready on my website to get them excited to want to reach out to me. I couldn't have things on there that made me feel cheap or inexperienced. And I really did an evaluation of everything. It's like, well, if somebody's going to book me for $5,000, somebody has to book me for $4,000 first, or $3,000 or whatever. And so I knew that if I could get a few weddings that were really nice and then use those to market moving forward, I could slowly inch towards that $5,000 goal. And I think I charged them $2,800 for this wedding, but I shot it in a way that next year I was going to charge $3,500 or $4,000 for. And so inevitably, when their friends who were there saw the wedding film, they were there as a bridesmaid and saw how great I interacted and how professional I was and how fun I was and how I tagged them on social media and how I did all the things that went into it. Slowly, a couple of people started inquiring from that friend group. And I think I've done 9 of those weddings from that friend group, from that one wedding. And every single one of them, besides that first one, has paid me more than $5,000, including my Italy wedding and my Cabo wedding. But if I would have just been Philly farting around, sorry about my language, if I would have just been doing that and it's really not worth it, or if I didn't change my mindset on this is really valuable, this is what I'm doing is really valuable. If I hadn't changed that first, I wouldn't have got the next booking and then used that one. And then their friend saw that, and that spider web has happened from that one wedding to where I've shot 50 or 60 weddings now from that, but 9 that were at that wedding in that specific friend group I've done. And it all started with me changing my mindset to, I am an expensive wedding filmmaker. What does that look like? I went through I was obsessed with anything and everything on the way I wrote things out, the way at that point, and I would laugh at it now, but I changed everything to make it feel more expensive. And then I was able to get to work and slowly build that. This, Nick, was like a 36-month window of time. And I think a lot of people think, well, John, you charge a lot, but it's that was a lot of work for a long time, doing weddings for less than I knew the value was, but still portraying this is a very valuable thing, and posting on social media and getting testimonials and getting people to write reviews and doing all this. And that is that crock pot. That's that 36-month window. And I can tell you this, and I would love to hear your story, Nick, about what's happened for you in the last 36 months. Because whenever I found you, that was about 3 years, a little over 36 months ago, 39, 40 months ago now. And so that's how long we've known each other. And so I would love to know kind of where you were and what you're doing now. What's changed to get you there.
Yeah. As you were talking, one thing that I came back to and thinking in my youth pastor days, right? Like you would get people that would, pray, hey, God, make me this, God, make me this. And then they would sit on their butts and they would expect action to happen. They would expect God to just zap them with this thing that they were praying for, when I think that you need to kind of what I was saying about, the couple that, was in marriage counseling, like okay, if you want this thing to happen, take steps, take positive action, take toward it, and then see where you end up. It's not just a, okay, like you said there, John, someone isn't going to contact me and then they say, oh, your pricing is only $3,000. Oh, I really wanted to spend $7,000. Like people aren't going to do that. Right. And so you need to start preparing the way, how you are going to get there. In 2017, whenever John and it was end of 17, I think, whenever we started, when I second shop for you into beginning 18, Jen and I shot a wedding in Colorado. It was a former youth group student and still to this day, one of those gorgeous couples we have ever filmed. The wedding was great. They were super emotional, all this kind of stuff with travel. So we did like a 9-hour drive from Wichita to Colorado. I think we charged them $1,500. Okay. Because we could see the potential investment that this wedding would bring. Okay. I can't tell you how many, that video now on our YouTube channel sits at it's over 400,000 views, maybe close to 500,000 views. We have gotten tons of inquiries from it. We're getting inquiries all the time for that specific venue because of how we have tagged it. And, a lot of people like $1,500, like why would I do that for $1,500? Okay. So that was a big thing for us, is we saw the potential in that. And that is one of those things. If the perfect wedding in your mind, like this is the couple, this is the venue, this is the location, this is the feel, whatever it is, maybe they don't have the budget, but you can see a potential quote unquote marketing expense in that hit. You can see where it could lead you. It might be worth it for you in your business. John to this day will say, yeah, I way undercharged them $2,800 for that wedding at that venue at that, but what has it made him since then? Okay. Me charging $1,500 for that. What has it made us? We invested in ourselves with education, doing mentorships and stuff like venture and that kind of stuff. My relationship with John has helped us. I remember, not after John and I started, building our YouTube channel and that kind of stuff, I booked a wedding for like $2,800. Okay. And I continued to push and I continued to grow. And within that year, I think I booked a wedding for $4,000, which was $1,200 more, than that 28. And we're continue to push, continue to grow. And, this last fall, I got our highest booking ever for, $12,500, because we saw the value and where we could go, but we had to make up that decision. This is what we are worth. This is what we want to do. Really early on, back in 17, whenever we shot that wedding in Colorado, I filmed that wedding as Nick Miller Films, and then we kind of shifted it a little bit after that to Wild Oak Films. And, with that, we had someone design our website. It's not our current one, but it was better than what I had. Okay. And so we have invested in ourselves with the look of that. We now have a new website that we launched last year that we paid like $55,000 or $6,000 for our designer to put together our website. And it's all intentional with putting off a specific feel, because if you want to charge more, you need to fit the part. You need to have your website look a certain way. You need to speak a certain way. You need to email a certain way. You need to dress a certain, all of these things fit into it. And if that old saying, dress for the job you want, not the job you have, that's kind of what we're talking about. If you're only charging only quote unquote, if you're at a lower price point, $2,500, $3,000, but you want to get into that $45,000, $5,000, $6,000 market, start now treating the clients that you have like they are $6,000 clients. Give them a $6,000 experience for $3,000, and they're going to talk about it. They're going to share it. They're going to whatever. And that is like step one in getting there, is treat the people today like they are the people that you want in the future. Okay. I talked a lot. I don't know if I made a lot of sense.
You made some sense, which was good.
Some sense.
No,
not full sense.
I look at it and I think a lot of people, like this whole, you plant a seed, you water it, you let it grow, and then you dig it up right before it was going to bloom. A lot of people do this with their business. A lot of people do this with their fitness. They work out and they eat healthy for a week and they gain a pound and they think, oh, well, this doesn't work, I quit. And instead of having a mindset that's a little bit longer and say, I'm going to stick to this plan. Like if you stretch out your thought, to 24 months, I'm going to treat every client like they're this value. Go ahead, Nick.
I mean, that was one thing that we did is, we went to venture, and the two big things we brought away from it were same day edits and doing some kind of like FOMO doc edit kind of stuff, right? And we decided that we were not going to charge our couples for those things for the first year to experiment with it and see how it was going to go. And that, I think we added so much value, and we gave that to so many couples that now our, $1,200 FOMO doc edit is a very popular add-on for people because they have seen so many people do it. And they don't know that for that year and a half that all those people, they didn't pay extra for it. But now we are reaping this hard work that we did so long ago. Sorry.
And what that did for you and what happens and where you want to get in your business is momentum. Like that built momentum for you, and it built this scarcity for you. Like it made you feel like you were shooting all the time, and it gave you the opportunity to show how great your work was. You showcased this earthy, organic vibe. It was super cool, and it resonated with more people. It made, the same day edits, people were sharing them at the height of emotion, and you stuck to this process, and what it ended up doing was yielding you more money. And so what if you out there listening were like, for 24 months, I'm going to treat people in a way, I'm going to value this business. I'm not going to fake it till I make it, but I'm going to keep moving towards it, knowing that it's the truth, even though I don't feel like it's the truth. Like I might not feel like I'm worth $6,000, but the version of you that's from 2023 will be very happy that you changed your mindset in 2021. And so it's like, okay, I'm a 6,000 or 5,000 or 2,000 or 10. It doesn't matter. Whatever that number is that's uncomfortable for you, I'm charging this much in 2023. Okay, great. That's the end. Now, where do I go to work myself back? And it's providing value over time, showcasing the things you want to shoot over time, only showing the parts of weddings that you want, being selfish with what's on your website, really speaking on your social media to the people you want to work with, the kinds of people, the locations, the places, taking jobs maybe that you shouldn't charge, $2,000 for, but it's a business builder. And one of the notes that I wrote down, it's okay to stop by a certain price point on your way up, but don't get locked into the mindset that you can't charge more. A lot of people, I hear it again and again, is my market doesn't allow that. We can't make money over here doing this. We can't. And so, but like if you submit to this process for 24 months and you say, I'm going to do a same day edit for every wedding, or I'm going to blog within a week, or I'm going to, whatever it is. But like if you determine for 24 months, I'm going to do this, you start to see that benefit usually before 24 months, like way before 24 months. But like that gives you a perspective and a mindset to be thinking longer. For us, like with How to Film Weddings, Nick and I were both like, we're going to do this for 24 months. We're going to go for it. We're going to see if anybody listens to it. We're going to see if we can do anything to make any money, but we're just going for 24 months. We're just going to give people value, and we're just going to give the best knowledge that we have, and we're going to just go for it. Nick, are you good with that? John, are you good with that? Yes. And so that was our mindset. And 6 months in is whenever a music bed sponsored us. And that allowed us to have a little bit of money to pour into our edits, or have someone help us edit our stuff. But we knew the value that this podcast was, knowing sooner or later sponsors are going to pay more, or we're going to be able to have things. And so it works alongside any business that you're in, but getting going and moving towards that goal is a huge, huge deal. Nick, I talked a lot. I get fired up.
You did talk like you're really fired up about this whole topic. It's really good info. Is there kind of looking at the notes here? Is there anything we didn't hit on? I feel like we've done a good job of covering your outline here.
I think that we've hit on most of it. My main thing that I want people to walk away with is that other people, other brands, other companies, whatever, are not thinking about you and your business. Your mindset plays a huge role in whether or not you're going to be successful. And if your mindset doesn't shift to where you want to go first, you're never going to get there. You don't get the big weddings, and then you have to do it the opposite. Really think through, I've got to take these steps. I've got to eat clean and exercise for months before my body shows that, yes, you'll have some little wins along the way. I'm like 2 weeks into eating clean, you're going to feel better, but you're still going to look the same. But 4 weeks in, you're going to start to notice. And then 8 weeks later, people are going to start to notice. And then 12 weeks later, it's a transformation or whatever it is. But people don't count that cost of what it takes to get there. And that's why a lot of people just keep looking at others jealously and just saying, they can do it because they live in this market. Well, I did it in Tulsa, Oklahoma, which is not a massive market. And I'm having to really think about moving to other markets and doing other things because I want to keep going further with what I'm doing. And how did I do that? I started doing weddings in Italy. I started doing, not by just doing a wedding in Italy, but anyway, Nick, you got your hands up.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the whole mindset thing, the whole mindset shift thing, right? That story of Jim Carrey, where whenever he got to Hollywood, he wrote himself a $1 million check and he put like a 3-year expiration date on it or something like that. And he was like, I have 3 years to make this money. And within that time frame, he did it because he had this goal, he had this set, he had this dream, he had this vision of where he wanted to go. And so I think that kind of plays into all of this. You, listener, if you have a mindset with your money, if you have a goal that you want to achieve, if you have somewhere you want to go, sit down and try and make some sort of make some sort of plan on how to get there. Like we were saying, start treating your couples now like they are worth the price point that you want to charge in a year. Start delivering your films now how you want to start be charging in a year or in 2 years or something like that. So all of this plays in together. I love what you said, John, that doing it now, treating them now like a $5,000 client is what will lead you to get a $5,000 client, not getting a $5,000 client and then treat them that way. I think that's so good.
The last thing I want to say on this, I think, maybe I'll keep going.
Are you sure?
I don't know, is that the people, the way that I found the most success is with my fitness or with my business is I find a coach or somebody that has been there before me. Listening to this podcast, yes, maybe having us do a mentor session with you or doing some mentor sessions with some people you really look up to. But trying to do something like this and grow your mindset alone is way harder to do than finding a group of buddies or people that Nick and I are talking all the time and pushing each other and saying, that was rad, that's great, you should charge more, you should do. And we bounce ideas off each other, but we're also reading books and we're also part of, we're in courses. We have purchased lots of courses together, going through things, learning how to get better, learning how to market better, learning all kinds of things. And that is a huge proponent into having some accountability. You can write out this plan, but if it's all by yourself, you might not stick to it. I think about going to the gym on my own is way different than having an accountability partner at the gym or having a trainer that I've paid that is counting on me to do this. And so find people that are in your corner, pay for some mentor sessions, pay for some education, but sticking to that plan, adding coaching, you're going to be so much further in 24 months. And it feels like 24 months, oh my goodness, 36 months, oh my goodness, that's a long time. That's longer than I've been in business. That's what it takes in the crock pot that we always talk about. It just takes time of doing those right things over and over. And then you look back and you're like, whoa, I had 7 weddings that were $10,000 last year. And that's that happened to me. And I was like, what the heck? That's great. That's incredible. And so all that wrapped up into a pretty little episode of how to film weddings. I hope this was helpful for you. Nick, anything you want to add? I'll let you land the plane.
No, I don't have anything I want to add. You said a lot of stuff that was really good. I hope that this has been very helpful and beneficial to our listeners out there. What we want you to do today is head over to howtofilmweddings.com/store, and there you can pick up our 12-month budget overview. We've been talking about money and we've been talking about mindset and all that kind of thing. And one of those things that can really help you is by plugging in all the numbers and kind of getting a year at a glance of how much money you're bringing in, how much you're spending, and what you can do to really succeed. Or, like, man, you're like, I need a new website. I need a few $1,000s for a new website. That's going to elevate me. Having something like this little budget sheet could help you. Oh, guess what? I'm on the end of the year, I'm going to have a little extra money. I'm going to have some surplus so that I can do that. Or you could plug it all in and like, I don't have any money. I can't spend it on that, right there. So that budget sheet is really helpful for planning in the future and all that kind of stuff. John, it has been great to hang out with you. Thank you so much for this idea and sharing, your life experience and all that with us. Listeners, thanks for listening to us. We really appreciate you all. We really do. And until next time, we will see ya.
Bye, guys. Have a good week. Are you looking for a better way to deliver your wedding films to your couples? Look no further. Our friends over at WedFlow provide the most flexible video delivery solution on the market. WedFlow is pay-per-project with no large upfront cost or commitment, and you can cancel anytime. Not only that, WedFlow offers a premium viewing experience for your couples, accessible on mobile, tablet, desktop, as well as their very own suite of TV apps. Each project comes with 10 years hosting and an experience for your clients that will blow them away. Stop delivering your films the old-fashioned way and give your couples something to rave about. Head on over to howtofilmweddings.com/WedFlow to check out WedFlow today.